Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Golden Edge Mailbag. I'm Review Journal Golden Knights reporter Ben Gotz, joined as always by my fellow Golden Knights reporter Adam Hill. The Golden Knights are on the road for a quick 2-game road trip following a season-long 5-game homestand. But a lot happened over that homestand, so we have a lot of questions to answer from you guys. As always, you can email me at bgoats@reviewjournal.com or find me on Twitter at BenSGoats. You can find Adam at AdamHillLVRJ. And if you send us questions, we will answer them on this show.
Where can you find that guy?
Wherever the Lion King is appearing. I believe the Lion King is actually coming to Las Vegas soon, so hopefully you'll see Eric Howla in his fabulous Halloween costume as adult Simba on stage for Act 2, or end of Act 1. It's the end of Hakuna Matata, where he comes in. Anyway.
It's very impressive knowledge. I'm just glad he's gone. I think us referring to him got him to leave. No, oh, no. I thought it was gone. It's all right. We're good.
He is not gone. We are also still here answering your questions, and we have one to come off right off the bat from Justin Levine, at Justin Levine HBS. He asked, is Nate Schmidt European?
This is a very weird question.
It was a very weird question. I get it, though. He's asking because, of course, defenseman Nate Schmidt is currently in Vienna, Austria, where he is kind of living out his 20-game suspension for violating the NHL's performance-enhancing drugs policy. And to answer this question, this is not a homecoming for Nate Schmidt. He did not go to Europe because he has friends or family there. Nate is from St. Cloud, Minnesota, pretty close to where I grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota. So he is not.
Did you know him?
I did not know him. We were not buds.
Any mutual friends?
I mean, I say St. Cloud is close. It's actually like pretty far from Woodbury, Minnesota, but it's much closer than Vienna, Austria.
I feel like everybody in Minnesota knows each other. Is that a bad assumption?
The hockey community is pretty close knit.
Okay.
So if there's a hockey culture there.
Just to be clear, it's close to St. Paul or somewhat close.
St. Cloud. Nate is from St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Oh, sorry. But relatively speaking, Minnesota, it's a big state, but they're somewhat close together. That is not Europe.
Not Europe. It is
That's
not
all
Europe.
I was getting to.
Nate is not European. He is practicing with the Vienna Capitals with a suspension because he cannot take part in Golden Knights team activities while on a suspension. So no practices, no meetings for Nate until 10 days before his suspension is over. He can play again on November 18th against the Edmonton Oilers. So kind of that November 8 to 9-ish range, he can come back and do team meetings and stuff. So while he's no longer with the team, he can go overseas and skate with the Vienna Capitals in Vienna, Austria, get some work in, practice with a decent level of competition, I think. I'm not sure what the Austrian Hockey League is like, how it compares to the NHL. It's obviously, I'm sure, not as good, but it's not nothing. So he can skate, he can work out, he can stay in shape, probably do some sightseeing, because, Adam, he also just got a big new contract from the Golden Knights.
He did. He's got quite a bit of money coming to him. So I guess to officially answer the question, he is not from Europe, so he's not European. He's European right now because he's in Europe. I would think his heritage is European. His name is Schmidt.
Schmidt seems likely European.
But I guess that's a very convoluted answer to a very odd question. Very simple, odd question. But no, he's not from Europe. But yes, big contract extension for Nate Schmidt. Interesting timing on the signing of the extension. As you mentioned, he's on the suspension. He's not with the team right now. They announced the suspension. It seemed like a bit of a shot at the league of saying, hey, we as an organization, for the Golden Knights perspective, don't feel like this was a fair suspension, and we're going to reward him right now with a long-term extension. And so I find those things very intriguing, the kind of behind-the-scenes mix of that. But Golden Knights locking up a very key defenseman for the next several years with a big deal. I'm sure he's happy. I'm sure he'll be very excited to get back on the ice, and it'll be very needed for him to get back on the ice for this team.
Yeah, so 6 years, about $5.95 million per year for Nate Schmidt. And he's a guy where General Manager George McPhee said after the extension, this is a defenseman that everyone in the league kind of wants because he plays really well defensively. He's improved that aspect of his game a lot over recent years. And he's a good puck mover. His pace brings a lot to this team. He really helps their transition game. He's coming off a career year where he had 36 points. He led the team an average time on ice at about 22 minutes that led all the Knights skaters. So he's a really key component to what they want to do. And now they have him signed long-term. Sorry, stumbled over the words a little bit. And as you mentioned, this is interesting timing because obviously for Nate, he's kind of in a career low right now. He is suspended. He's in Vienna, Austria. But also, I think this is a really big kind of payday for him. This is kind of his I made it moment.
Yeah.
This is a guy, when he went to college at the University of Minnesota, he was not a highly recruited kind of guy or not a stud prospect. So he had to kind of work his way into the rotation in college, became a very good college player at the University of Minnesota, but then went undrafted with the Washington Capitals, and then of course was left unprotected by the Capitals after a couple seasons, went to the Golden Knights, proved himself, proved he could be a kind of top defensive pairing kind of guy, and now he's rewarded with a contract extension.
Not bad for a kid from a small town in Europe.
St. Cloud is not huge. St. Cloud, Minnesota is not huge.
It's not Europe, though.
It's not Europe.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, we'll move on to another non-Europe related question so we can clear all that confusion out of the way. Or this is actually a comment. That's ... a second power play unit.
I don't know if this is sarcasm or...
It's very much sarcastic.
Okay.
That's at Kawicki. He's referring to what the Knights threw out last game Sunday against the Ottawa Senators. Their second power play unit consisted of defenseman Colin Miller and then forwards Tomas Hika, Oscar Lindberg, Ryan Reeves, and Eric Haula. There's a lot of guys that I just listed who you would not expect to be part of a fearsome second power play unit. That being said, they scored.
Yeah, that's something that the quote-unquote actual power play units this season have really not been able to do at a very consistent basis. They went out and got the job done. Ryan Reeves, yeah, he doesn't play the power play very often, but first time he's ever gotten a power play goal, they were successful. And I think sometimes you see that you just have to change things up at times. Now, this was kind of forced out of injury, kind of a little bit shorthanded, but there is something to be said about, hey, the power play units just aren't working. They're generating some chances. Other times they're not generating chances at all. In fact, it looks like they're not even on a power play. But you do some different things, and sometimes you're rewarded.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Golden Knights have had 4 power play goals all year. One of them coming from this fearsome unit, and Ryan Reeves is just playing really well. I think Alex Tuck has come back and provided a great net front presence to that first power play unit. And Ryan Reeves kind of did something similar on this goal where he's just a big body in front of the net that's hard to move. And so he can get deflections, he can get rebounds, he can help do the dirty work on this power play for a team that kind of needs some dirty goals because they're not scoring a lot right now.
Yeah, generate chances wherever you can and find ways to score goals. And sometimes those goals that you don't expect and the goals that really aren't warranted will start to get some things going, so get some confidence going and just kind of get you to seeing the net again. It's like a shooter in basketball who is really struggling from the outside, makes a layup, or maybe gets to the free throw line, gets a free throw. You just start to see it a little better. The rim becomes a little bigger. Maybe that will help for the Golden Knights to get some of these goals in, and then all those chances will start to pay off at some point.
Yep. So like I said, that second power play unit didn't look fearsome on paper. No Paul Stastny, obviously he's injured. Max Pacioretty was injured, and then Cody Eakin was injured early in that game. But it worked, because sports, and sports are weird sometimes.
Because sports.
And that's why we love them. We have another question
Is Ryan Reeves European?
That I don't. I believe he's Canadian.
He's
Canadian.
I know that for sure. He is Canadian, yes.
We have another question from @E15 Emerson, and I love this one. What should be the next sponsored bobblehead by VGK and why? So Derek England was a bobblehead giveaway at the Friday game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I have a lot of thoughts on this, Adam. Jonathan Marchessault and William Karlsson you would think would be the front runners for next bobblehead, but I'm going to go a little off the rails with this one and say I think John Merrill would make a fantastic bobblehead. He's got a great mustache, and he's got a new black eye from a fight against the Ottawa Senators on Sunday. So I think those two elements, mustache, black eye, would make for a really great bobblehead.
Fair, and they would definitely have to be a part of that because John Merrill is very concerned about accuracy. He told me the other day that he thought the England bobblehead was perfect, was very much like him, except it didn't have gray in the beard, and that's what he wanted. So I would say that if you're going to do the Merrill one, you do need to have the black eye. You need to be accurate because that's what he wants.
Exactly. He's got the shiner. Christopher Murphy, by the way, in our Facebook comment says, get some brawlers. I want to see fights. See, so we have more people that want to see fights like we saw on
Merrill
Sunday.
got his first fight. Maybe you were happy about that. I'm sure Ryan Reeves will fight at some point. He's kind of been toned down a little.
He did have a fight against Minnesota, so Reeves has won a fight this year.
Yeah, there you go. So
John Merrill doesn't want any more fights after how the first one went.
Well, maybe he does. Maybe he wants to bounce back.
More practice?
Yeah, maybe he wants to show that fight that the other night was not his true fighting style, and maybe he's a little better. But I thought, I think that it was a good sign for the team and everything else that he is not a fighter, and he knows that he's not a fighter, and he knew he was probably going to lose. But he went into this fight just saying, hey, you just took out my teammate. I didn't like that hit. I'm going to do something about it. And I think the team rallied a little bit around that. It helped spark a little bit of emotion for the team, and that was a good moment for the team. But I would say, John Merrill, don't fight again.
Probably not.
I would say I don't want to see that happen again. I think probably stick to what you do. You're not a fighter, and go ahead with that. I think, well, first of all, I think it would be, you just have to go with Nate Schmidt bobblehead. Like,
Fair.
you have to put that out again right now because you're doing everything. You're announcing extensions. You're doing everything else. Just say, hey, we're all in on this guy. We don't care that he's suspended right now. We're all in on him. We're going to do the Nate Schmidt bobblehead.
Maybe have him holding a sausage from Vienna.
Yes, and it represents his European heritage as well.
Of course,
for
this
sure.
has been established.
That would be good. I hope it's not an Eric Howla bobblehead. Not Howla in general. I just mean this one. I don't want this.
That one.
I don't want this lion bobblehead going on of Eric Howla. But there's good options all around the team. I think the Shea Theodore would be a very popular bobblehead. The ladies will love it. I think that's
the teeth. You got to get the teeth right on that bobblehead, though.
Yeah,
that's a little tricky.
That's true.
We have another question, more hockey related than that discussion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
James, shout out to James. Should Brad Hunt get more playing time given what he has provided the team, Corsi being one of them? I do think Brad Hunt has played really well for the Knights this year. He's kind of a guy that it doesn't seem that he's ever their first option, but he's always been a good option for them. He provides some offense. He's good on the power play. He's obviously undersized at about 5'9", I think, so he's not quite what you want defensively. But they just seem to always get a lift from him because he's just beloved in that locker room. You will never find anyone that says a bad word about Brad Hunt. He's always excited to get up in the lineup and play, and that's, I think, kind of why they keep him around, is that they can have him be off for a couple games, have him be on for a couple games, and never hear anything from him because he will just always be a team-first kind of guy.
He's a perfect guy to be in that spot on the roster where it's fine with him. He wants to play, of course, but he's totally embracing the role of, hey, I'm going to be scratched a lot. When we have a full complement of players, I'm probably going to be a scratch. I'm probably going to watch from the press box. And then he just goes and grinds at practice. He lifts up his teammates, everything else. He's a perfect guy to have on the roster. But he's perfect because when he does get his chance to go in and play, he plays hard. He gives them a spark. He does a lot of really good things for them. I do like seeing him get playing time. Just because, as we said, he helps on the power play for sure. He's very good at that, at kind of captaining the unit. And he's a guy that just is kind of in the right place at the right time. He's not going to make spectacular plays. He's not going to blow you away with, like, end-to-end, fake out 6 guys and, go through the defense and score. Like, that's not what he's going to do. He's going to make the right plays. He's going to be there to do the right things for you at all times, make the fundamentally solid plays. So, yeah, I think that it's good when he's getting playing time, and I think he's earned playing time. But I think he also is in a position where he's just a really good guy to have on the roster because it's okay if he's not getting playing time every single night. He's willing to wait his turn and go in there and just produce every time he's in there.
Yeah, I think it's rare to find guys like that, kind of end-of-the-roster guys who aren't going to be a problem or aren't going to make a fuss if they're not getting enough playing time. So it's kind of huge to have a guy like that on your roster. And on that same line, we have a Facebook comment from Chris. Hunt over Merrill for sure, at least until the team is healthy. They will face some kind of defenseman decisions once Nate Schmidt gets back because that'll lead to another defenseman scratch kind of coming down the road. We have another comment from Christopher Murphy that I think will interest you, Adam. Send the Golden Knights to the MMA gyms here in Vegas. We have some of the best fight gyms around here. Maybe send the players to Extreme Couture so they can learn how to overhook in the clinch.
Okay, well.
I think there's some MMA terms that are over my head there.
It's definitely MMA terms right there. No question about that. I mean, Ryan Reeves has been to the UFC Performance Institute. I know that for sure. I know that there's people over there that would love to have the players over there on quite a more consistent basis. And for those that don't know, several teams that came in last year that came in for a couple of days that maybe came to Vegas 2 or 3 days that they had off would go over and train a little bit at the PI. And I keep saying PI, the UFC Performance Institute down over on 215 in Rainbow. I'm sure most people have driven by it. Massive building with a huge state-of-the-art gym. And I know some hockey players have certainly been through there. Ryan Reeves has been over there. I think it's an interesting concept. I think other sports have done it too. I know the Detroit Pistons sent their whole team out here to train a little bit, and it's not just so you can fight better. There's just techniques and things that you can learn, and it's a very interesting place. But yeah, if John Merrill might want to go there a couple times, but he take the shots well.
Yeah,
he stood
took
up
it like a pro
for a while, but maybe get a right hand off and you learn some clinch moves there.
Yeah, and I think it's just good to have a different kind of workout, a different kind of energy to mix it up during the season because these are obviously long seasons, 82 games. So whatever you can kind of do to mix it up, I think is good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for helping us mix it up with different questions this week. I liked all our Facebook comments. Thank you for all those who submitted questions on Twitter.
Are you European?
I am European. I'm
Okay.
German mostly. Gotz is a mainly German name. Remember, you can send questions to me and Adam. My email is bgotz, G-O-T-Z, @reviewjournal.com. My Twitter handle is @BenSGoetz. His Twitter handle is @AdamHillLVRJ. We are here every week taking your questions no matter how weird or obscure they may
I'm
be.
glad Halloween's over. This has got to stop.
Yes, happy Halloween, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.